Thank you, Brian. And good afternoon, everybody. My name is Chris Collins. I'm a senior consultant with Bentley Systems. Been there about 25 years. Formerly at North Carolina DOT. Essentially doing had Oak job prior to him getting there. So today we're just going to discuss moving to OpenRoads Designer and some of what may be challenges and the evolution of OpenRoads Designer. This is really not a new presentation, so there's some background to it, and you can probably see where you fit in with your organization and where you at. Also, if you need assistance making decisions and making the move, we have some options for that we'll be covering as well. So to begin with, moving to OpenRoads Designer, a couple things here, discussing the industry drivers and the evolution of OpenRoads Designer Connect Edition. I'm sure all of you guys have heard about this by now. We'll just go through a few things and how OpenRoads Designer came to be and where we're going in the future. So the industry drivers, of course, is the digitalization of the transportation industry and design, construction, maintenance, everything that's involved with it. And as you know, over the past few years, our data types are changing considerably. The amount of the data is getting larger. The size of that data is growing with the introduction and the utilization of more point clouds, scanning technologies, things like that, and the desire to use 3D models for design, construction, and maintenance. So with these drivers, we want to utilize this intelligent 3D CAD models to support the life cycle of all transportation projects, basically for being more economical and efficient in project delivery, being able to take those 3D models and pass them down the line during the design phase and build upon those models, and ultimately sending them to construction and being able to do automated machine control, and even having digital twins and the iTwin services, carrying those models in the field for construction and being able to query and make changes, especially in design build projects. A lot of that is what's been driving everything to 3D models. And of course, OpenRoads Designer was created in order to provide you a way as a designer to more efficiently build these models with the data that you have. And even doing visualization, real-time visualizations of your designs and animations. Again, we're focusing on the information modeling, taking that data, that intelligent data, and managing it better. Of course, the red line here shows current practices of passing it through the preliminary design, procurement, construction, operations, and maintenance phases, and you know that we've just kind of built upon that, passed that data. The next person would, or a group of people would, sometimes reconstruct that data or you know, have to begin their processes from a beginning point. Whereas now, with better information and models, we can just build upon the same model and hopefully save time and effort, reduce risk, and have a really attribute-rich model in the end that can be used even after the project is built and it goes into operations and maintenance, and have that information available down the road. So just a quick rundown kind of on the evolution of how we got to OpenRoads. We need to see if we can mute everybody. Brian, can you do that? Okay. All right, so back to where we were discussing industry drivers. Our whole goal here with OpenRoads Designer is to generate data-rich 3D models and have greater utilization of these intelligent models through the life cycle of a project. Talking about how to, with better models and better information management, we can hopefully realize time and effort saved, increase the quality and asset knowledge of the asset itself, reduce risk exposure, and have attribute-rich data or models. So back to the a little of the Bentley civil evolution and where OpenRoads Designer Connect Edition has come from. We start with this slide, which was basically around 04, 05, where the acquisitions took place of the major civil design products that were on the market at the time, and Bentley acquiring GEOPAK, NCLUG, and MX. You can see there, they pretty much had all the same functionality to do a road design project. Everything was there, and all the individuals who were working in those projects, had the tools that they needed. Then we came out with SELECTseries 2. Now, this is the beginning phases of creating the OpenRoads technology. And of course, it started with just some geometry tools for horizontal and vertical geometry and the survey or data acquisition, as it was called previously. But we still had the distinct 3 products that were in use at many agencies and even countries around the world. Then came OpenRoads technology. So at this point, it wasn't exactly a product. It was just the name of the technology for SS3 and 4 of our civil products, GEOPAK, NCLUG, and MX. So the technology was there to allow people to start a transition using it, if they wanted to try it, but they also had the accessibility to the legacy products as well. So it was just built into all 3 of them. So with SELECTseries 3, you see here we added a little bit more functionality for the OpenRoads technology, that being some road design, modeling, terrains, and the utility design products or technology. Still had the individual legacy products at this time. And then in SELECTseries 4, a couple of them were redesigned there. The SUDA was added. And then ultimately we came to OpenRoads Designer Connect Edition. And this is the new product that's going to be replacing the legacy products of GEOPAK and NCLUG and MX. And here we introduced the dock center and the quantities, which is essentially the plan preparation tools and stuff that you were used to in the legacy products. So with the introduction of OpenRoads Designer Connect Edition, the 3 products essentially are going to fade away, and we're going to have hopefully get everybody on OpenRoads Designer. And I know this has been a long transition, especially here in North Carolina. Some states moving at different paces or different pace than other states. And it's been a little bit of a grudge sludge here for North Carolina DOT. But I think everybody is reasonably close or getting their workspaces and things worked out so that we can ultimately make that transition here very soon. So looking at a few things in what OpenRoads Designer is going to provide to replace and how it's different than some of the legacy products. We'll just take a look at a few things that are the same. So everything that's in SELECTseries 4 would come forward and are improved in OpenRoads Designer. And this has to do with workflows, the context menus, being able to do the dynamic edits on your graphics, utilizing Project Explorer, as well as feature definitions, your civil cells, template libraries, and things like that. Also, training and workspace development that were done in SS3 or 4 carries forward in a productive manner into ORD. So it was essentially, you didn't have to rebuild everything going to OpenRoads Designer. Now, this was not necessarily the case for SS2. So a few things that changed there was we now have an enhanced civil model presentations. We introduced feature symbologies in addition to feature definitions, so that they were that was an additional component that was added in OpenRoads Designer. With the plan preparation capabilities, we added new annotation. We also rewrote the super elevation engine to make it more flexible and dynamic and user friendly. And also, of course, the plan production part of it. These are the new things available in OpenRoads Designer, whereas in SELECTseries 3 and 4, they were not available. Improved civil model. And essentially, you'll see here in the OpenRoads model portion of the Explorer, you have better sorting and grouping operations by feature definitions. Also, better navigation, being able to click on a component of your model and zoom in directly to it, things like that. Just more functionality and ease of navigating through your 3D model, whether that be for review or for design, just making it easier and more accessible. Feature definitions were one thing that were really enhanced in OpenRoads Designer. You'll see the items in black there, and the list on the left is what was available before, just basically linear point node terrain type features. Well, in OpenRoads Designer, we just broke that down even more to give you more control over how things are displayed and grouped together. It's easy to categorize things based on corridor, super elevation, break out your linear and surface templates and your survey data and stuff as well. Just easier to organize everything and keep up with what's going on in your 3D model. The feature symbologies were introduced in order to give you more control over specific feature definitions. And you can think of that kind of in a concept of what something is and what it actually looks like in a design process could be separate, completely separate things. For example, say a guardrail. You may want it represented with a particular line style in a plan view. But in a 3D view, in a model, you want to see an actual 3-beam guardrail with posts. And on a cross section, you might want it to look completely different. But with the introduction of feature symbologies, it gave you a way to specify that a single design component can be represented differently in a plan view, a profile, 3D, or a cross-section view. Instead of only having one setting for symbology, now you have several, and you can control how it looks like. And it does that by specifying particular element templates. You can also identify different annotation groups, and just allows another option is allowing the segregation of element types, so that you could featureize lines, arcs, and spirals differently. In the case of geometry, if you wanted them different colors or leveled differently or something, you could have that flexibility as well. The annotation capabilities, and of course this builds on the part of OpenRoads Designer, whereas in SELECTseries 3 and 4, the plan prep and plan annotation, those capabilities were not in those prior versions, but being built in the OpenRoads Designer, you now have the ability to create your own annotation groups and definition. You can set up text favorites, define how things are labeled, whether that be automatic labeling or individual labeling. You can set those up as well. It has a nice annotation manager, and in the bottom right of the screen there, that's what that is, the annotation manager, where as you define certain pieces of your annotation, you get a nice viewer there, and as you make settings, it pops up and changes that dynamic viewer automatically so that you can kind of see on the fly how your annotation is going to look once you save it and then use it to, in this case, annotate an alignment. You'll know what it's going to look like prior to just configuring it, testing it to see if it's right, then going back and configuring again. So the annotation manager there with the previewer is quite nice. The other thing that one of the other things that we have done there is that we have revamped or rebuilt super elevation engine. And this includes all of the legacy functionality. So from all of your other products, whether you were, and you guys mostly are probably GEOPAK users, everything that you could do with GEOPAK, you can do here in the super elevation dialog. It's all XML based. Anybody can make modifications to it, whether that be a good thing or a bad thing. You can manipulate your super elevations however you like. Seems we're getting a lot of people like now. So yes.
Sorry to stop you one. We sent out another link, and I think we were missing a bunch of people. I guess didn't get the right link, or maybe they have the old one from last time. We're getting a bunch of people just to join. And I just wanted to let, I guess, those who join, we did record this session, so you should be able to go back and review what we've already covered. And then hopefully Ian can work out with you. I guess we could still offer the PDH credits, if you go back and review the sessions. So, Chris, if you just want to pause 1 second, I think we've got a bunch of people coming in. All right. Yep. There we go. Well, now we're up to 92 people. Thank y'all. Sorry, everybody, for the mishap. I think if everybody had the wrong address, but we did record this. And so we'll be posting this on our website, and then we'll also be giving credit for the PDHs. So we'll follow up with you at the end of this about all that. But thank you. Go ahead, Chris, so you can begin again.
Okay. So welcome everybody that's just logged in. Like Patty said, this has been recorded, so you can see the previous portion of this on the recording. But essentially, we're just discussing some of the background information of how OpenRoads Designer evolved, the evolution of it, and some of the new functionality that was provided with OpenRoads Designer that was not in some of the legacy products, that being En-ROADS or GEOPAK. And we were right up here to the new super elevation engine. This was completely rewritten. And again, it supports all the legacy functionality from any of the legacy products that you might have been using before. It's XML based. Anybody can make modifications to it, whether that be good or bad. You can see that there is a creation and editing dialog, and that's what's shown there on the right. And it just saves to an XML file. So ideally, you would probably have one from an agency, whether that be North Carolina or whomever, DOT, that you might have set up in your workspace to load automatically. However, you could, for whatever reason you might have, you could create one just for a project simply by using the file open and save buttons up there at the top and making custom settings in it. Excuse me. So all of the toggles here, is fully customizable. You can use equations, or you can use a table, a radius table based. You can provide custom key station. Runtime variables is a big thing in the new engine, where you can have it actually prompt the user as it's trying to do the calculations. And, and that's just anything that might be, abnormal to your particular project, or maybe you just want to build in some friendly prompts where they don't have to think of a lot of things to build these, and maybe it just prompts them for number of lanes or something like that. You know, you can have it do that during runtime when you're doing the calculation. Another nice feature to eliminate or to make it more user-friendly and streamlined is the automatic lane creation and application to a corridor. Whereas before, you went through the process of building a super elevation section and building the lanes, you know, all individually. Did that manually, and then you came back and you got your table or your equation and did your calculations, and then you went and applied it to the corridor. Well, now that's been somewhat automated. There's an option for automatic lane creation where it will actually just look at your templates. It will determine how many lanes and lane widths and things like that based on your corridor itself, and it'll just create it automatically. So that's a pretty nice feature that's been added there. So just some new functionality. In addition, you also have, we've been incorporated a managed model for super elevations. So the managed model is just like a profile model or a cross-section model, a dynamic model, simply for design purposes. You can make modifications to your super through that model window. You see it in the bottom left here of this slide, where you can go in and select on an element. It'll give you the smart text there where you can just make changes. If you wanted to change a slope or change a station, something like that, you can make edits directly through that managed model. And of course, the one on the right there is just the super elevation editor that's always been there. You still have that option to use that as well. So again, just some enhancements to that in OpenRoads Designer. And then of course, the biggest thing where if you were in SELECTseries 3 and 4 or 4, and you were using the OpenRoads technology in those products, when it came time for plan preparation, drawing production, you had to do what we call the left turn. And that means go back to your native products or your legacy products and finish out your sheeting and plan production in those particular products. Now, of course, there's all the capabilities are in OpenRoads Designer. Everything is civil context aware for plan profile cross-section, even super elevations. If you want to show supers on sheets, you can do that as well. There's sheet scale aware, the annotation is, so you can change, you don't have to set up these sheets over and over. You have dynamic profile cross sections through the 3D model, meaning it's just a reflection of the model, and they're dynamic. When that changes, they'll update. You can do automatic bulk annotations for those as well as associative annotations that will automatically update when changes are made. And just a little introduction here to the dialogues. What we did for the drawing productions is we just simply took the MicroStation create name boundary tool, which is just a tool inside of MicroStation, and we enhanced it for the civil applications. And you'll notice on this dialog, this is for placing plan sheets. You'll see the icons across the top. They're just there. We added some. We just simply enhanced that particular application in MicroStation to provide more functionality for doing plan and profile sheets. And it's just logical information there. This one on the right there is for placing profiles. And you have to do these separately. So you'll do your, and they're a lot like the ports in GEOPAK, the legacy product, where you'll do a plan port, then you'll do a profile port, and it'll lay out your clipping boundaries. And that's just logical information. The one thing to note here is that everything draws from a seed. That's the first pull down on the top of both of these dialogues. A drawing seed for a plan or a drawing seed for a profile. And these are the pre-configured part of it. So you would create, again, very similar to ports in GEOPAK. You would pre-configure your profile, your plan seed, your profile seed, and you save those in a library where you can use time and time again on different projects. There's the one for the cross section. All of these are pretty straightforward. You even have one for just 2-point cross sections. You also have some options there for just placing clip boundaries, for doing sheet detail sheets, things like that. So it's full function, has a lot of options in it to do any kind of sheeting that you could possibly want to do. And there you'll see is flexible. You can do your plan profile, plan double profile, alternating plan profile, roll plots, any scenario that you find yourself in, you're going to have options to be able to create those sheet seeds and be able to generate those. Now we do use, and as you notice here, we're using sheet models in from MicroStation, the sheet models, and that may be a little new to some of you guys. I don't know if you've been using sheet models before. They're slightly different than a design model, in that you can have your you can pre-configure and set up to put your borders on these sheet models and have them scale aware and provide your annotation as well. Cross sections, pretty much the same thing, a full range of options for labeling cross sections. You have element annotations where you label slopes or points, and you can choose the type of elevation or the type of annotation you want to put on there. Or you can do frame annotation, like shown in the bottom when they're there. This was a popular feature with En-ROADS for the most part, but certainly you can set up sheet seeds to place any of this annotation you like. And then associative annotation. So whether it's cross section or a plan view, you can, in this case, if you look on the left there, you see the building with the corners labeled with station offset. If this being done with associative annotation, simply means if the alignment moves, those labels update automatically. If the building moves, those labels update automatically. Likewise with your cross sections, if things change in your corridor, then these labels and such will reflect that on your cross sections. So that's some of the basic functionality with OpenRoads Designer, and moving off of your legacy products, the tools that we provided to get you off of those products and into the OpenRoads Designer world. But there are some other things there that you may find useful. One of these being companion capabilities. And you'll notice here OpenRoads Connect Edition products, context capture, Navigator, Luminar T, Concept Station. Those are companion products, but we also provide licenses for capabilities within OpenRoads Designer. And those would be a couple of them here. Get Civil Tools. Now this is pretty handy for doing borehole data onto sheets, whether that be profiles or cross sections or whatnot. You can tie directly to a GENT database, set up options in there for how things are plotted out, your boreholes, any labeling, material types, things like that that you want to label. They can be set up and drawn very easily using those companion capabilities. We also have reality modeling tools built in so that you can easily display, classify point clouds, things like that, or any scanning data that you might get, you can bring in and build models of those. In addition, the subsurface utilities, which has now been changed, it's not subsurface utilities anymore, or SUDA or any of that. Everything now is called drainage and utilities. So just keep that in mind. The SUDA stuff, nomenclature has gone away. But yes, that's all included in your OpenRoads Designer so that you can do 3D layouts and analysis and design of drainage networks or sewer networks or even dry utilities. And in addition to that, we also have a license. There's a companion license built in for Luminar T Designer. So there's where you can export your model if you like, add visualization, lots of visualization tools to create lifelike models, movies, animation, with vehicles and all that kind of stuff. So lots of companion capabilities built in your OpenRoads Designer license that you can also take advantage of. So now let's just talk just a little bit about the actual migration to OpenRoads Designer. And this is where everybody's at right now, and I have been for quite a while, trying to get things prepared to make that big step. And these are probably a little outdated, simply because everybody's in the middle or the final stages of this whole migration process. At least I believe they are, as far as North Carolina goes. But essentially here, all of these, just giving you a little roadmap of how this happens, all of our products, all of our legacy products will migrate to OpenRoads Designer. So whether you were GEOPAK or NRoads or MX or PowerCivil, you can get there from here. And the one thing to note also is that your one OpenRoads Designer gives you usage for all of those other products. So even if you put OpenRoads Designer on your machine and you license it, you can still have the legacy product. Let's say, for example, GEOPAK SS4. You can still have that on the machine, and you can, with that same license, you can use either one. And actually there's 8 products, but that's just being an example. You could use either one. And essentially it's there to try to, it was there and still is, to try to give you a option to transition to OpenRoads at your own pace, because there was some configuration considerations that had to be made to just go, to OpenRoads Designer. And this gives you the option of making that migration at a pace that suits your needs. So back to why I considered making that migration. Well, of course, like we talked about in the beginning, the data changing. Delivery requirements are changing. Contractors, inspection people, everybody's really wanting 3D models now of the design, even going through, the end of the product into maintenance. They want these 3D models. So requirements are changing a bit, and the types of data is changing, as well as the size and the amount. So those are the considerations that are driving the migration to OpenRoads. The other thing, of course, is the introduction of the 64-bit processor. All the legacy products are 32-bit. So, you're limited by your memory access. Of course, everything's getting bigger and larger. So it runs, if you're doing newer type projects with point clouds and stuff, of course, you realize things run slower in the old products. Breaking up models, that was a requirement. And still on some projects it's a requirement now because they're so large, even in OpenRoads, but not nearly as the big a consideration as it was in the legacy products. And then lastly, the left turn that we talked about before for plans production. When you got to that stage on your project, if you were using the OpenRoads technology in those previous products, once you got to this stage, you had to export things back to the old file formats and then use the old applications to finish out the plan production. So another consideration for going ahead and making the move to OpenRoads Designer. So now just a few things involved, consideration for the migration to OpenRoads Designer. And some of this stuff we as a company, as a software company, are available for assisting you to make these transitions. But essentially a successful migration is going to be doing an accurate assessment of your processes now and your configurations, what you have now, what you want to move forward. Develop a thorough understanding of the benefits of ORD and develop a well planned out migration strategy. You know, to update, whether that's to update certain departments first, or whether that's to what kind of things you want to carry forward and what things you want to redo. It's provided a lot of agencies an opportunity to completely rebuild stuff that had been hanging around for 20 years. Thinking of just CAD stuff, cells, you know, antiquated processes, things like that. This gave everybody an opportunity to kind of reset, plan a migration, clean things up, streamline everything, and just have a better working environment when you got there. Product plan advancements, OpenRoads product advancement plans. We have lots of supporting collateral where we would go. As a matter of fact, we go into an agency. We would assess where they're at, look at what they had that they wanted to move forward, do some presentations, you know, have meetings with everybody, and then we define these advancement plans. And then the next step would be to initiate these. So just to kind of give you a idea of these paths, this is essentially the migration path. You had some people were on Select Series 2 products, some people on Select Series 4 products, and everybody trying to get the OpenRoads Designer. There were a couple options here. Lots of agencies and people went to Select Series from Select Series 2 to Select Series 4, which was kind of a jump because there was a lot of new technology there. There was things that had to be configured, feature definitions, things like that. And then, but what that did is that made the jump from Select Series 4 to OpenRoads very easy, because those, remember in the previous slides, those configurations and those everything that was planned for Select Series 4 easily went into OpenRoads Designer. The other option, which is what North Carolina DOT opted, was to go from Select Series 2 to OpenRoads Designer. This was slightly more difficult, simply because the transition from 2 to 4 wasn't made. So you have the same considerations going from 2 to ORD. So it had to be handled there. Not a big thing, but just another level of effort there that had to be put in to get to that. And you'll see from these slides, in this first one, planning a migration from SS2 to SS4 shows you some of the things on the right, some of the things that you could retain. All of them had to go through a planning stage, configuration of workspaces, training, deployment, and coaching. Of course, the boxes on the right there show kind of what could be retained, carried forward, what needed to be modified, which were basically any custom applications. And then the bottom left there were new things that had to be created in order to make that jump. So there was quite a bit from 2 to 4. And then when we look from 4 to OpenRoads Designer, it was not such a big thing. A little additional training, setting up some sheets, and I'm focusing on the new box down at the bottom left there, setting up for the doc center, which are your sheet seeds and things like that. But mostly everything you had would go forward. Then there was the step here going from 2 directly to ORD, and there you'll see the new box gets quite large there. Everything has to be tackled at once. There was no kind of, I don't know how to say, a smoother transition going 2 to 4 to ORD. It's the same transition. It just all had to be done at one time. So you'll see there the training involved, the civil cells, feature definitions, feature symbologies, all of that stuff had to be configured for OpenRoads Designer. Now, some things that we provide to assist in this, of course, is training. Even in, well, I guess you guys didn't have it in SS2, at least I don't think so, but SS4 had Connect Advisor. OpenRoads has Connect Advisor. We also have the Bentley Learn, which I'm sure a lot of you guys have looked at some of the training, whether it be self-paced, self-taught training, or going through formal courses. Another resource is the communities. And then we also have on-site and/or virtual training that you can sign up for. And this is just an example of some of the courses. They've done a really good job of enhancing this for ORD. There's tons of training out there. Some of it quick videos. Some of it more detailed, getting into whether you have to do configurations and workspace setup, or you're just trying to learn how to do super elevation calculations. There's plenty of training out there and opportunities for you to increase your knowledge of OpenRoads Designer. Also, we have the community pages. These are quite popular. Lots of people go up there to vent frustrations, which is what it's there for. But there's also good information there that you can access on how to do certain things. There's support for all the versions, recommendations for migration, configuration details, lots of how-to videos up there. And there's a breakout there just for ORD. So there's several ORD, just specific video clips, tech notes, and FAQs, things like that you would probably find beneficial. Connect Advisor, I mentioned this earlier. This is located inside of OpenRoads Designer. It's a little icon like you see on the slide here. It's a little icon up in the upper right, which is basically, Connect Advisor is kind of like Google for Bentley, or in our case, Google for OpenRoads Designer. You can pop this guy up, click in the search field, anything you want to know about horizontal geometry, super elevation, whatever, and it'll go out, it'll search the communities, it'll search the Learn server, it'll search YouTube, and it'll search product help, which is online now as well. It'll search those, and it'll come back and it'll give you links to everything. From there, you can bookmark favorites. You can watch the videos while you're right in the design file trying to do something. If you were trying to calculate super elevation in this file and you want to know what a certain setting was, you could search it, pull up the whether it be a video or the page in the help doc, look at it, and then proceed on and do your super elevation calc. So it's quite handy. I think you'll find it beneficial and useful. Again, support services. We talked about this a little bit before. This is just stuff that Bentley provides. We can come in, we can help move people, do the OpenRoads planning for the migration, provide training. What we'll do is come in, and what we can do is as much or as small as an agency or would like to do, and we've done it with we've done it with nearly all the agencies and most all the large engineering firms, and then see what needs to be developed, configured, things like that, and come up with a plan to make that final migration to OpenRoads Designer. And this is just kind of how it goes. We do an enterprise-wide view of your current readiness, whether that be training people actually knowing how to work in 3D, knowing how to utilize a model, or anything, configurations. And then we'll do those discovery sections, develop a document and a plan, and come back and present those to an agency, and then begin the adoption process. So I hope all of you guys have at least been playing with OpenRoads Designer some. I think, I'm sorry, I'm out of the loop a little bit with respect to North Carolina DOT, but I believe that they have been doing training and have provided their workspace for review and things like that. So I'm hoping most all of y'all are at least getting familiar and preparing to make that jump to OpenRoads Designer. That's really all I have for you this afternoon. I want to thank everybody for coming. Don't know if we want to do any questions. We don't have a lot of time left, but Patty, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate that. I want to apologize for, I guess, if a lot of people didn't get the link, and just reiterate that we did record this session and that it will be available on our nclug.com website probably within the next couple of days. So you can go back and review maybe the first half if you missed it, or even if you want to go see some of this other information again. So hopefully we'll have that posted by the end of the week. Also want to reiterate, I guess, for PDH credits, for this, and I know some people didn't get the link until late, but hopefully I think we can still offer everybody PDH credits as long as you're attending right now and you go back and review it. I think we can, if we have your name on the list. But I want to also reiterate that if you called in with the phone number or you signed in as a guest, which we might just have your first name there, that we need you to actually email us at events, events at nclug.com with your full name, your license number, and the email that you want your that we can send you the receipt to. Because I think a lot of people, if it's just a phone number listed for you that you're calling in from a phone or something like that, we're not able to capture your name. And that's only if you need the PDH credits. If you don't need them, you don't need to worry about it.
Patty, also, if you're also getting on here, make sure that your email address is correct on your membership on our website. Those emails are what we're using to email out the PDH. If you got an email about this meeting, this webinar, then your email is obviously good, but just go ahead and just make sure that that email is correct on our end.
Yes. And then also, if you signed in as a guest or somebody forwarded you this invite, I think it's fine for you to join like that, but we do want you to be members of NCLUG. It's free to join. That just means that you'll be getting the emails directly sent to you instead of having them be forwarded to you from somebody else. So we encourage you to go. You can set up your own user profile in our membership on our website at nclug.com. And then you can actually maintain your own site. So if you do move companies or something like that, you could go in and change your own email address. So we just encourage you to keep that up to date and become a member, and even encourage your coworkers to join so that they can get these emails themselves in the future. We are planning to do more of these webinars, and this is still new to us, and we're trying to work this out. So y'all just be patient with us, with the chat box not working and some of those things. So with that, I guess if you have any questions for Chris, you could just unmute your phone because our chat box isn't working. If somebody has questions that they want to ask Chris.